Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. We're delighted to have such a nice audience here. My name is Penny Wright, and we've been looking forward to Kristina's Armchair Traveler for quite some time. And many of you know Kristina well, but for those of you who may not, I'll tell you a few things that we know about Kristina. Is that she's originally from Michigan, from Greenville, Michigan, and she came east in 1979, and then in 1980 she came out here as a nanny, and there she met Mosey Muller over there. As you know, Mosey's her husband, and together they had a son, Caleb, who's right here in the front row. 15 years ago, Kristina started working in this library in the Technical Services Department, and she oversees all of the periodicals, all the magazines that come in here. And there are a lot, and it's a big job. And everyone loves Kristina. She's wonderful to work with, and we're just delighted to look forward to hearing about her week living off the grid. So please welcome Kristina Muller.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. And I'm very excited about this project that I've been doing and talk to you about living off the grid. As you can see, I'm going to advance the slide There we go. Technical difficulties, sorry. This is my dear mother-in-law. She passed away in 1988. As it says, she was very enthusiastic about off-grid cabin living, and unfortunately she only got it to do it for about 5 years until she passed away at the young age of 63. But in that 5 years, she and my father-in-law Artie did a lot of work on the cabin, and they had a lot of family and friends and good times, and they packed a lot into those 5 years. Now I'll tell you a little bit about where the cabin is located in Salem, New York. Salem is in, as you see here, the northeastern side of the state. It borders Vermont. And here you can see Salem is located between Manchester and Saratoga Springs, which a lot of people know where those two places are. So it's kind of between the two. This sign is when you come into Salem. It says settled 1762, so it does have a lot of history. And there is a Revolutionary cemetery there, a lot of soldiers buried there. There's also covered bridges in the area. There's 3 of them, and one of them is in Salem. It's called the Rexley Bridge. It's on Rexley Road. And it covers the Battenkill River. The Battenkill runs 9 miles through Washington County. When you come into Salem, you see this building here. It's an empty building. But I enjoy seeing it. I have this dream that if I won the lottery, I would buy this building and make it into an arts and crafts center. It just begs to be done that way. So that's my dream. But it was originally an Arrow shirt factory. In Salem itself, you see some of the quirky little signs they have for all the businesses around. This is just going down the street in Salem. It's a typical little New England, quaint little town. Here we are crossing Main Street. This used to be the jail. It's now just empty. I'm not sure what they use it for. But to the right of there is a beautiful little thrift store. It's great. I love thrift stores, and I love going into that one. Now, Stewart Shops. These, if you have ever been in upstate New York, they're everywhere. They're in every corner of every little town up there. They are the equivalent of what we have here, 7-Eleven. They have gas, milk, eggs, bread, all the basics, lots of ice cream too. And in Salem, that's really the biggest store they have, unfortunately. So you don't really get a wide variety of food, but that's what they have. And last year they had a Dollar General that began operating, and it was, again, not the greatest store, but it's okay. It has a lot of processed type foods, but if you need something, you can get it there. Now, the history of the cabin. This is my father-in-law. He's still here with us. He's 98. And I wouldn't be here talking to you about the cabin if it weren't for him. And so, and this is what the cabin, when they first bought it, this is what it looked like, a tar paper kind of shack. Now, here I'm going to tell you a little story about before they bought the cabin. They were allowed to sleep overnight. One night, the owner said, "Oh, come up and try it." So they did. And during the night, a little mouse ran across my father-in-law's face. And he noticed that the feet were cold. Now, I personally would have been horrified if a mouse ran across my face. But he noticed that the feet were cold. And in the morning when they woke up, they looked up and there was a couple of rolled up rugs in the rafters and they were full of mice. Now this property is 24 acres with including 6 acres of pasture land that's on at the bottom. The main room is 15 feet by 16 feet with a back room that's 8 by 7. And it's 300 square feet altogether with a small cellar. This is a map downloaded from Google Maps. Whoops, sorry. I meant to press this button. Here's Quarry Road. This is where the cabin is located. And on Quarry Road, as you see, this is the perimeter of the property, right around here. So my son Caleb, he was nice enough to show that this is the pasture down here. Here's our driveway going up. It's a long, steep, winding road, and it goes all the way up here. Here's the cabin. We have a little pond here, and a couple of outhouses. And then if you go up to here, you get to see a beautiful sunset in the evening. And this is the neighbor's property, but they allow us to go up there. They're very gracious up there to allow us to go up, and we have a rock up there. We go up and look at the sunset. And on this, I'll show you also, this is Mike and Jen's property. They are organic farmers. Now this property originally belonged to my father-in-law's sister, Marion, and her husband, Leo. They originally came up to Salem, and I don't have the story of how they ended up in Salem. But Artie and Irene used to go up and visit them. And they said one time, "Oh, if that property next door goes up for sale, just let us know." And after they said that, about a week later, the property came up for sale, so they bought it. And this is when they actually closed on the property and they were celebrating up at the top. Now, this kind of shows the area was quite open at the time. Now it's grown up with many, many trees, but here you can see the neighbors across the road. This is down further, maybe there's more pasture here, but we originally think it was a sheep farm because there's many sheep, like where you could look and see where there could be sheep on the hill. More celebration. Artie and Irene drinking a toast to their new cabin. Well, they got to work on the place pretty quick, and they made a nice porch. And this is the finished product. A beautiful porch with a nice patio beneath with stones made from the quarry that is down the road. This is the interior of the cabin, showing all the windows you have and the beautiful view out there of the, I believe it's the Green Mountains where you see that it's looking towards Vermont. This shows over, where you sleep. There's a couple of bunk beds in there. You have your stove. Oops. Here's your stove. Over here is a refrigerator, and up here is a light. Now all of these are run on propane. The propane tank is located outside, and my father-in-law he built the system with piping, so everything is piped. So when you get there, you just turn on the propane and get everything going. And there's also a little sink over here. So it's a pretty efficient little place. And of course, importantly, you need a wood stove to keep the place heated when it gets cold. Because believe me, it gets cold up there. And this wood stove is great. I mean, you get it cranking and it gets so warm you almost want to open all the doors because it can get pretty warm. And there's also a little couch here that can be folded out to make another bed for 2 people. So you can comfortably sleep 6 people in this cabin. Another view of it. Now, I'm going to tell a story about my first time at the cabin. The scene was like this. I had known my husband, Mosey, I had met him that summer, and in the winter, probably February of '84, we went on a family ski trip. And after the ski trip, he said, "Would you like to come up and see my parents' cabin?" I said, "Sure." I was always up for an adventure. So I went along. Well, it snowed that day, but as we got to the cabin, it cleared up. The moon came out. It was beautiful. I think it was a full moon even. So we had plenty of light, but we couldn't drive up the driveway. It was snowy and very deep snow, as a matter of fact. So we get there, we park the car at the bottom of the hill, and we take our baggage and we start trudging up to find this cabin. Well, he had only been there a couple of times before, so he wasn't quite sure where it was located. So as we began trudging up in the deep snow, we found a snowmobile trail. There is a snowmobile trail that runs through the property, so it had some access there that we could walk on easily because it had been packed down. So we started walking up this trail. Well, we walked and walked and walked, and there was no sign of a cabin. So we decided to go back, regroup, and try again. At this point, I was starting to think that this cabin was a figment of his imagination. But we started up and we went to the left side this time. We were trudging through knee-deep snow. And it was cold. And by the time we finally got to the cabin at the top, I was exhausted. We got in the cabin, we looked at the thermometer, it said 0 degrees outside and 5 degrees inside. I simply went to bed. I had all my clothes on. I threw a blanket over myself. I laid down in the bed and I went to sleep. And I believe he made a fire or something, so we wouldn't freeze to death. And the next day, I think we left. We only stayed there very briefly. So that was my first foray to the cabin. It was quite the adventure. Now, when you go to this cabin, I'm showing what it takes to stay there. You have no water source, so you have to fill up these 6-gallon water jugs. In fact, I brought one here. We're filling them up at our neighbors. You know, they have a spigot outside. And when you fill these things up with water, they're heavy. So you're filling up about 5, 6 of these things, putting them in the back of the car, and then trudging them up to the top of the hill where you unload them to be used. Now when you get to the cabin, it's generally, you know, a little disorder there, maybe some leaves have blown in. So you'd have to clean up the leaves. And then inside, I have everything sort of covered and the shades have been pulled down. So you open the shades, you take the covers off, you turn on your propane, and then you light your refrigerator. This is a little tricky. There's a flame way in the back of it that you have to get with a long stick. And it takes some practice, let me tell you. So I finally did get it lit. Now, this I want to show you is a system we have in the cabin. There's a faucet here, and it has a tube that goes up like this and runs all the way up to here and goes into this 5-gallon spackle bucket, which you have to fill with water. Once it's filled, you can go down and turn on the spigot, and well, first you have to siphon it, then you turn on the spigot and you actually have running water. So it's kind of a nice little system, but you have to make sure you don't run the bucket out of water, because then you have to siphon it again. And sometimes you have to clean the chimney. That's a job I let my husband do. And if it's cold, you want to start the stove, you want to get your fire going. We also, in the last probably 12 years or so, have had a solar panel up there. The solar panel is hooked up to a wire which runs into the basement, which is connected to a marine cell battery. Now this system runs really great. I mean, it's really perfect. We have it in the window when we're not there, and when we get there, we take it outside, and we point it to the sun. Occasionally, you have to move it around to keep track of the sun. But it runs the lights at night. You go in, you click on the light. Now that we have LEDs, the low wattage is great for these solar panels. I've never had the light go off. You know, I turn it on at night, it runs all night. And we also plug in our cell phones and our other electronics that might need charging.
Here, hold on for a second. I think your mic is your title button.
Okay. Sorry. Now, this was this past July when I went up there for 2 weeks. 1 week I was there by myself, and this is the outhouse, and this is one of the jobs you have to do when you come up to the cabin. You have to clean out the outhouse. I'll also explain my outfit too, but okay, I'll go back. Now, this is in July. It's hot, and my neighbor warned me that there were deer flies, lots of them. So I went on the internet to see what you do about deer flies, because they bite. And it said you get a blue Solo cup, you buy this sticky stuff called Tanglefoot, you spray it on the cup, then you put it on top of your head, because for some reason they're attracted to that, and they stick to it. So that's what I did. I said, all right, I'm going to do it. I don't want to be bitten by hundreds of deer flies while I'm up there. So that's my crazy looking outfit. And also the goggles, for some reason there were these little flies. I'm not sure, maybe they were black flies, I'm not sure. They would go in my eyes, and so I said, I'm wearing goggles. And it solved the problem. So here I am, and there's my little Solo cup. After the bugs showed you, they really went for it. It worked. I'm emptying out the outhouse. We have a black bucket underneath, and we have an area of disposal. Clean it out, rinse it out, and you're done. Now, this is kind of long. There's so many fun things to do up in Salem and in that area. This is an old picture when the cabin was first purchased, as my in-laws were up there. They made apple cider one time, so there they are chopping up the apples. They had an apple press, and voila, you have apple cider. Also, in the springtime, in the winter, you have ice skating on the pond, which is really wonderful. And my father-in-law is a very good ice skater. As you can see, he's showing off a little bit. My mother-in-law, Irene, she's sitting on the porch watching. Now here they are making a funny little picture because they had a huge icicle and they loved to have a little cocktail at night, so that's their ice for their drinking. a rather large icicle. They also, when they were up there, would make maple syrup on occasion. You have your maple tree right here with the buckets on it, collecting the sap. And they went around collecting the sap, putting it into jugs. And when you get all that sap collected, you put it on the stove and you boil it down. Now, you always wonder, how come it's so expensive? Well, it takes 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of of syrup. So, there you go. That's why it's so expensive. It's quite a process. There we are with our little guy up there in the winter. The pond was frozen. We're on the pond right there. And also there was flooding from time to time. This hill is called Mosey Hill after my husband. We had some fun times up there. And a little ice hockey on the pond. Snowmobiling too. Now, I know we're going from a drastic change here from winter to summer, but this was from this past summer when we were there in July. We took the neighbor kids to go tubing down the Battenkill. They had never done it, so they had a grand ball time, let me tell you. It was a hot day, the Battenkill was nice and cool, and I even found a Corona unopened in the water, nice and cool, and I gave it to my son. He enjoyed that very much. Now this trip that we did went under some covered bridges. This one happened to be in Eagleville. And there happened to be a little rope swing, so we stopped and the kids enjoyed jumping off that rope swing. Now this is a video showing the Rexley Bridge back in the day when they had a door and you could jump out of the bridge into the water. This is my brother-in-law Rick, and he's about to jump.
You can do it, Rick.
This is his son Leland, who after some trepidation, he finally did it. They no longer have this option. They took away the door, probably safety reasons. We had video of a kid jumping off the roof into the water, so I think crazy people like that made them change it. This is the Battenkill. I'm just showing you this picture because it's a crystal clear river. Really crystal clear. Beautiful. Now, after our trip down the Battenkill, we went to the Battenkill Valley Creamery. They have wonderful ice cream there. They also have homemade, they have fresh milk, cheese, eggs, yogurt, all dairy products, because they have cows right on the property. They service quite an area there around Salem, but this is their little store. And we stopped there and had a nice ice cream sundae after our trip down the river. Now this is taken at the neighbor's property. They have a beautiful little pond that was made by them. And the kids love it because they can swim. There's fish in the water, there's turtles. And we enjoy it too. They were welcome to come there anytime and jump in the water. And believe me, we do, because it gets pretty darn hot in the summertime. So it's a great way to cool off. Now, this is another thing you wouldn't think of doing up in the cabin. This is a video of Ann Bam, and she is using a homemade golf club. This is homemade by my father-in-law, Artie. So if you don't have your golf club when you're up at the cabin, you can make one. And you can hit balls off into the woods, but you might not find them again. Up there is this beautiful place called Salem Artworks, SAW. And it's a great place to go and just explore. There's a lot of artwork up there, a lot of sculptures, very unique. This particular sculpture is up close to the top of the place, and these beams are made from the twin towers. Below it is a little tire swing, and that's Caleb on there. they had this on a display for a while. They're like plastic spheres, and you could see them for miles. They kind of reflected the sun. But since we were there last time, they were gone. Here's another sculpture that's kind of strange, but that's what the whole place is like, just one strange sculpture after another. This road leads to the quarry. There's a quarry down the road from our cabin. We live on Quarry Road, and there is a quarry. So, at the quarry, it's no longer in use, but they used to excavate the quarry there. I mean, at the stone, the slate, and there's a lot of deep holes there, but there's also just a lot of leftover slate laying around, so. And there's also a rock wall where you can write your name on. And when you go back the next year or next time, you look for your name, see if it's still there. There's my sister and all the kids exploring. Last year, my sister came up to the cabin for 10 days, and we had a good time. Now, unfortunately, people bring their trash there too, and they throw it over where these deep holes are and just let it drop it. It lays there for years and years. It's unfortunate. There we are looking for some names. Now, when my sister was up, we were told you could go and pick raspberries in October, and I thought, wow, I never heard of that, but there they were. We picked raspberries. And this place was called Garden Works. It's a wonderful place in Salem, and they have a lovely menu. You can, eat there. There's a lot of things to do. And also this little store is owned by our neighbor Mike's mother, Barbara. She runs it, and it's called Pure and Simple. She makes soaps, and she makes little sewn things. She's a sewer too. Here she has taken the soap out of the form, and there she is about to cut them into the bars. This is in Cambridge. Cambridge is south of Salem, but it's a wonderful little village.
Can we move your louder up just a little bit?
Oh, sure.
Some people are having a hard time hearing.
Sure. This is Cambridge. Is that better?
Yeah, let me see if I can get a little closer to you. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. All right, is that a little better?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, this is Cambridge. It's south of Salem, but it's a lovely village, and I enjoy going there a lot. They have a little depot. It's now a brewery. This is the farmer's market there. In the summertime, they have wonderful vendors who sell all kinds of fresh fruits, vegetables, flowers, mushrooms. I love to buy mushrooms. Now, across the street from that farmer's market is this hotel. It used to be a hotel. It's now turned into an assisted living place. There's also lots of antique shops, particularly in Cambridge. This one happens to be in Salem, called McCarty's Barn. It's a very interesting place. You never know what you're going to find. Here we are in Dorset, Vermont, where that is a marble quarry. It's a beautiful place. Now this, every third week of August, Washington County has a fair. And at this fair they have livestock. I showed a couple of cows there, but there's also sheep and pigs. They have the fairway with all the rides. It's a really nice fair. I enjoy it. It's very local, low-key, and just lots of fun. The other thing, that when there was a big group of us that went up one time, I think it was 2008, we decided to rent canoes and go down the Battenkill in canoes. It was a lovely fall day, and that's our group. Another favorite hangout is the Burger Den. This is just outside of Cambridge. They have quite a menu, let me tell you. It's again another local hangout where people like to go, and there we are having a lovely breakfast. Across the street from it is this beautiful lake. I believe it's called Lake Lauderdale. Fun thing to do at the cabin is shoot things. We have slingshots and we have targets that you can aim at across the water. We also like BB guns. We have many targets across the way to aim at, little bells and things. There's the boys with their guns. Okay, now, maintenance and projects. This is a project my father-in-law did. He put in all these steps. If you can't get your car all the way up to the cabin, you can park towards the bottom, walk up these steps to the cabin. And he has a little railing made out of wood, like a log. Here I'm showing our two outhouses. This one here is the old one that we're no longer using, and that's the new one up there. Now, I believe this was the trip in 2008, a big group of family came up. And the projects we were doing were building that new outhouse. This is my brother-in-law Tom up there, my son Caleb below. Building the outhouse. We also built a brand new wood shed. And that's the girls loading it up with new wood. There we are, showing off the new outhouse and the new wood shed. The other project we did while we were all up there was we took down a lot of trees. Over the years, these trees have grown up and blocked a lot of the view that was up there. So we had a big family get together to go up and take down a lot of these trees. You can see all the stumps that were left from after we took down a lot, and that's another view of it. Gaining our view back slowly but surely, and that's all of us fit into the cabin having a meal at the end of the workday. We also had some work parties, and at the night we would have a little fire, some music. The family's very musical, and they have their songs that they like to sing. So singing around the campfire is what we did a lot of those evenings. And toasted marshmallows too. My father-in-law likes to play the gut bucket, and the others playing the guitar. Now, when we go up, we have a lawnmower up there, and we do get it out occasionally, but each time we've gotten it out, there's been a mouse nest in it. And it takes us a while to clean it up. But it seems there's no way to deter these mice. We've tried everything, mothballs, steel wall. Nothing has worked. They find a way in somehow into this lawnmower. There we are, string trimming. There's a lot of that to be done up there as well. And leaf blowing, that's blowing the driveway. Now, we just went up in October. I think it was the third week of October. We were up there. And this little beautiful sink that was outside, run by a pitcher pump and a sink here. The water would come out from the pond here, up through here and into the sink. This was built, I don't know, I want to say in the early 80s when my father-in-law first was up there. He built this. This is what it looked like in October of this year. As you can see, it kind of got rotten and is needing to be replaced. We did paint the pitcher pump. My brother-in-law Rick, who's a wonderful carpenter, built a new table, and he came up and replaced the old table with a new table. A very beautiful new table, I have to say. And with the nice newly painted pitcher pump, it looks great. So there he is. He was testing it out to make sure it worked, and it did. There he is, the happy little carpenter. done with his project. There's also a lot of branches, sometimes we have to take them down with a pole saw. That's my son Caleb up there on the ladder, taking down some high branches with the pole saw. He also learned how to, chainsaw and put a wedge in a tree so it would fall in the proper direction. Now this video is going to show you the tree coming down. It's coming down. In the next little scene, you'll see how much a difference it makes of the view. Whereas before you couldn't see part of that mountain, now you can. So it really does make a difference when you take some of those tall trees down. And of course, after you take the tree down, you have a lot of work to do. You have to cut up all of the brush off the tree, and then you have to cut it up into logs. Lots of work. Now, this past October, that tree had been taken down the year before, so we came back up and we decided we would split the logs so we could use them as, wood for the fire. Well, we were going to rent a log splitter, but we couldn't find any place that would rent them, so we happened to notice the neighbor down the road had one outside in his yard. So we stopped one day and asked him about it. He's gracious enough to say, yeah, I won't be here all week. You can use it all week. Take it. So we were able to use his log splitter for the whole week, get the logs split up. And there we were able to also borrow our neighbor Mike, the farmer's tractor. We brought the logs up on the tractor in the bucket and filled up the woodshed with brand new wood. Now, I'm going to tell you about some of the critters up the cabin. Now, this video is a sound thing. You're going to listen and you're going to hear what I hear up there at night. The first sound will be the coyotes that come out. About dusk, you'll hear them when they come out of their dens or whatever, and they're getting ready to go hunting for the night. And the following sound after that is the barred owl, which I hear every night. So take a listen. It does sound exactly like that, too. That is the barred owl. It's a beautiful owl. And we took that picture. We actually, my nephew, one day when we were going down the road said, there's an owl. So we went, got our cameras, came back. He was still there. We took the picture. And I hear them every night. There's lots of chipmunks up there. My father-in-law made a little house for them. He named one chip and one monk. Now, this is the outhouse. It doesn't have a door on it. But this next little scene might scare some of you. If you have arachnophobia, you may want to close your eyes. This is a scene I came upon one night when I was going to the bathroom. This, from what I can tell, is a wolf spider. It's pretty big. And it is kind of alarming when you see that on the toilet seat. You don't want to sit down on it. I tend to name them because then they seem a little friendlier. That's Sam. I'm going to say, that is Sam the spider. I said, Sam, you need to use the bathroom right now? I can wait. So I went back. When I came back, he was gone. Perhaps he was on the side. I don't know. But in any case, and sometimes he's on the screen of the door or something like that. This is showing you, this one had drowned in a bucket, so I took it out, and I'm just showing you how big the spiders are. They're quite big, but I think they're also very beautiful. They don't alarm me so much. When I was growing up, my mother taught entomology, and we would go out and hunt for bugs, so I think I got used to handling bugs and not being too afraid of them. When I arrived at the cabin this last trip, there was this evidence of carpenter bees. They somehow drilled up through the soffit on the outside of the cabin, and they got their way inside the cabin, so I had to clean up a mess. When I was raking leaves, I came across this little guy. I love salamanders. They're just so cute. I had him crawling up on my sleeve. When I put him back on the ground, I want to show you, look how he blends in. Here he is. Look how he blends in with the leaves. I'm not sure what type of salamander that is, but I just thought he was gorgeous. And occasionally you see a snake. That's a little baby one. Not too, he seems pretty harmless to me. And lots of frogs. There are frogs everywhere. I was hunting, doing some bottle hunting. I came across that little frog. There's a little tiny guy. Sometimes you're walking and they're just hopping everywhere. Now this is evidence in the outhouse of a squirrel. They sharpen their teeth. And so this happens like over the winter. They go in there sharpening their teeth and they leave a mess. A turkey feather. There's lots of turkeys around too, but I don't see them that much, but I do hear them more. And occasionally I see a feather. Now here I want to talk about our neighbors. This is Mike and Jen, our neighbors who live across the road. They have a lovely farm called Echo Creek Farm. They grow organic vegetables, and they sell them in the city. They make a trek to the city every Saturday. They have a market in Chelsea that they go to, and then I think there's 2 others that they utilize as well. And they are a lovely couple. They have 3 children, and they asked us if they could farm our pasture land at the bottom of the property, and we said sure. So in exchange, they keep that mowed, and they also mow the property up above where the cabin is when needed, which is great. And when we go there, they say, do you need any vegetables? And of course I do. I love their vegetables. They're all, as I say, they're organic and quite a bounty. This is their farm, showing the back of it. The house is facing towards the road, and this is the back of the farm. They have lots of, that's their little pond. Here's strawberries that are growing. They have to cover them with nets, otherwise the birds would eat every single berry, I think. This is in our pasture land, showing what they grow. They grow kale, and I believe leeks, garlic. That's Mike. We had him up for dinner one time. He drives up in this little side-by-side over here. It's a really cute little vehicle. Now, on the property, there are a lot of stone walls. I don't know how they got there. I wasn't there when they were put there, but whoever put them there was pretty strong, because these stones are heavy. I've moved some of them. Some of these stone walls do show you where the property lines are. This is our side, that's their side. Now, I'm going to go into a little story here that we took a little trek around the perimeter of our property one night. This is happening in October when we were up there last. We decided to cross the barrier into the neighbor's property. And they had this very cute little cocktail bench. Another little cocktail bench. I'll turn off the slide because I'm going to tell this story. As we crossed the barrier into the neighbor's property, we saw these beautiful trails that were mowed. And we said, they just called and beckoned to us, follow the trail. So we started walking these trails, and they led every which way and all around, beautifully mowed. And it was getting to be dark, you know, it was kind of the end of the day. And we decided to turn around and go back. Well, as we were going back, we heard a voice saying, "Do you know you're trespassing?" We were alarmed. We were discovered. It was the neighbor whose property we had trespassed. We approached him and said, "Oh, we're your neighbor. We actually live on the next property." As soon as we said that, his whole demeanor changed and he said, "Oh, I've been wanting to meet you. We've been here for 10 years and we've never met you." He was so happy to finally meet us because, as I said, we don't go up there that often, so he was just delighted that he actually saw us and met us. And he said, "Come to the house." And so we did. We went to the house. Meet my partner. He had a partner, Ed. So we met delightful partner, Ed. And Ed was baking cookies at the time, and he sent us home with a fresh batch of cookies. And we exchanged numbers and everything, and they were lovely, lovely guys. So the next morning, we get a text, or maybe it was a voicemail, I'm not sure. And the voicemail said, "Please come for dinner. We would love to have you." It was Steve, one of the fellows we had met. So he said, "Please come for dinner." So we said, "Sure, we'll come for dinner." And he said, "It's just going to be a simple little affair." We're like, "Okay." So we went that evening, found their house, and they had quite a spread, let me tell you. It was some spread of food, and they were delightful. They were just wonderful people, and they welcomed us with open arms to just, they were so happy that they finally met their neighbors. And they ended the evening by saying, "Anytime you want to come and go down these trails, you're welcome to do that. We're not going to, tell you to go away." And they said, "Anything you need, let us know. We are here." So that's the way the people are up there. They're just very generous with their time, and they're just so. This is Ed with their very beautiful little fire. That's Steve on the right. We had a delightful evening with the two of them. And they have a very beautiful and unique house. Ed is an artist and he designed the house. It's very unique. Now this is just showing a typical day at the cabin. You wake up in the morning and sometimes the sun is just, everything is golden and beautiful. That's me getting out of bed. I might put on a cup of hot water to have tea or coffee. And I sit down on our little deck and soaking in the beautiful view. And these are fresh veggies that I cooked up for breakfast from the neighbors. And my project for the day was going to be to sort of, the little steps have gotten loose and I was going to try to fix some of the steps. Also, there's a lot of string trimming, so I was doing that day. And if there's time for music, you play your guitar. And at the end of the day, you take in the view again. That's our cocktail bench overlooking, as I say, towards Vermont. And then you go up to the top of the hill, Mosey Hill, and you go to the rock. So it's top of the rock to see the sunset. And the very last thing you do is you write in the journal. We have a cabin journal up there, so you write in that to explain everything you did for the day. That's an important part of the day. Now, here I'm just going to, I wrote some pros and cons to the off-grid living. I like the fact that there is no news. You're not getting bombarded with all this news. And you have no electric bill coming. You don't even have a mailbox. No annoying robocalls. And you get complete darkness at night. And complete quiet as well. Now the cons are no hot running water, spotty cell service. If you go up to the top of the hill, you usually get a good signal. And of course, the ticks, mosquitoes, deer flies, black flies. And that's just the end of the day. And I put this down as a hope for the future. hoping to gain and continue to gain back the view, hoping that more family and friends will come up from time to time. And I'm hoping to figure out an off-grid shower system. And that's pretty much it. There I am, waving goodbye to Catherine. Thank you for coming.
Would you take questions if?
Yes.
Okay, good, so
If anybody has a question, we're just running through some slides this evening. You don't have to pay attention to those, but does anybody have a question? Yes, Jimmy?
I have a question. You talk about sunset. I don't get up early enough for sunrise.
Not usually, no.
Oh, that's.
I know. The sunset's more important than the sunrise. Yes, Carolyn?
There?
There are bear, and we did talk to the neighbor. They have seen bear. I have not seen any bears, but there are bears around. I don't try to attract any bears. We don't leave any food around outside for attracting anything. This is a drone video that my son took when my sister was there. That's us sitting on our little deck at the end of the day. We're just enjoying the view. That's the pasture land where the neighbor, Mike, farms. As you can see, lots of trees, but that area is open right there.
What's the total size of the parcel?
It's 24 acres. I think that pasture land's about 8 acres maybe. Yeah, these are drone pictures of the area. Yeah, it's, I didn't include the fact that at the beginning, my father-in-law did entertain the idea of bringing electricity up to this cabin when they first purchased it. But it was so expensive that he decided against it. And we are so grateful that he made that decision, because living off-grid is just wonderful. There's just so much nature, and you get close to nature in that way. I think you're just not bombarded by all this stuff going on. You're kind of just quietly there in the nature. This is the neighbor's farm. The pond, you can see the pond and all his little, he has greenhouses and different things going on. He's got 10 acres. And I tell you, he's an Energizer bunny. He runs himself ragged with this farm, but I don't know, he does it somehow. This is showing going up to where we go to the sunset. This is the neighbor's property at the top. He grows, I don't know, sometimes corn up there. And that's where we watch our sunsets up there. It's just very pastoral views up there. Everything is just, and I hear cows mooing at night sometimes. And of course, in the fall, you have the beautiful colors with the maples turning bright red and yellow, and just lots of beauty up there. And lots of trees. There's always work to be done up there. Always. You never have to, well, I mean, you can have time to sit and relax, but there's always something to do if you're one of those people that can't sit still. That's going down towards the pond, I believe.
That's it?
That's it. Yeah, that's pretty much the end of it. So, thank you for coming, everyone. Oh, I wanted to also thank my son Caleb for all his help with putting all these videos together. And also, I wanted to thank Karen Rayner, she's not here, she helped me with some of the presentation, as well as my husband Mo with all his patience and all the beautiful photographs, a lot of them were his that you saw. And my father-in-law for, again, starting the whole business of this off-grid cabin. So, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.